Well, we're going to continue this because I think this is an interesting way to show how what people are thinking and what they're seeing, and how it affects them or doesn't affect them. So we're going to ask my friend Paul Swanson. He is the other side of Fight Back Media and space production and all that stuff, uh, to help us in this little discussion that we're having. And we're going to ask him the same four questions that we asked our friend Brandon. Um, so, from where you sit right now, how would you describe the current political landscape here in the United States?
Whew. Yeah. Um, well, thanks again. I know, Willie, we have not done this in a while, but that's
Too
okay.
long, too long.
Yeah, way too long. Um, a mixed bag, kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. I'm not real sure that there's not a real concerted focus on things. I mean, there in minor areas there is. Um, the SAVE Act. What else I'm thinking of? Yeah, there's been some real niche type of focus, but as an overall, not like 16 to 20, where we knew we were trying to move forward on some various issues. Uh, it's the economy's maybe not working where it should be or where we think it should be. But yeah, I mean it's still positive-ish, I guess.
Ish. I
Um,
love that.
we're midterms come up in what, 6 months, thereabouts, 5 months, 6 months. So that is starting to people say, "Ooh, yeah, this stuff's starting to come up." Um, we've had some regional and local elections, and people are now starting to go, "Oh, okay, now we got to go for midterm stuff coming up here pretty soon." And there's been some things. The election integrity issue is still a big problem. We're not hearing so much now about what had been going on in Minneapolis the past, at the first of the year. It's still going on, but it's not as it's the media has forgotten about it for the moment. They're chasing another rabbit somewhere.
Which they do. Which they
So I
do.
mean that's the gas up here is three, what did I see today? 361. Yeah, so it was down under $3 for a while, but it's pumped back up. I'm not hearing that much here about what's going on over in the Middle East. I read about it, but it doesn't seem to be it's not a ongoing topic of conversation, at the grocery store or, wherever you might happen to be. The pseudo no kings kerfuffle that had been going on. The most recent one, it was these are fair weather people. We were talking about the weather. Uh, the last time it was in the 30s. I think there were maybe three guys standing out uh, in the area, uh, and they didn't even have a sign up. One had the sign stuck under his arm. So fair weather protesters, I guess. Now they might have had something a little more down in Ashland, but I don't think there was because they didn't publish or promote what was going on there. So um, I think here at least the politics is not a big push. It's a people are more concerned about, okay, now here all of a sudden we're going to open up our 5-month window of here's where everybody gets to make money, and that's their main concern at the moment.
Understood. That from where you are, that makes a lot of sense. All right, now our the next question I asked the young man was, when you look at both major parties and how they speak, do you feel seen and represented, or do you feel like you're being talked uh, at instead of talked to or talked with?
Well, we're kind of in a unique area here, you know as well as I do.
Yes.
I know I can't see Canada, but we're pretty close. We're that far north in northern Wisconsin. So this is a unique area. It's a rural area. Um, on the Democrat side, yeah, it's talking to or at, and there's no substance uh, to the what might be or you would want to consider as a conversation. It's here. What we this is our message, and it's really not a message of substance. A lot of platitudes, a lot of talking points, but nothing of substance. And in a lot of cases here, I think that most of the people are they're kind of set in their ways, and that's they they don't really want to have a conversation with folks. This is the way it should be. Um, this is also, I mean, this is historically, I'd have to look specifically, but we've been up here for 10, 11 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's historically it's a old line Democrat area, and a lot of those folks are our age.
Got you.
Yeah. Um, but that's gone off the rail. It's not the Kennedy Democrats. Yeah. The other side has slipped in. Uh, so it's on the Republican side, they're not at fault either. I see little, if any, Republican representation up in our counties or the counties next door to us. They've just kind of written off this area. My opinion, I'm not saying it is so, but from what I've seen, they've kind of written off this area. Now, I know several, well, a friend of mine who is not actually, he is running for governor of the state. Um, he's been up here a couple of times. I have seen, and I know a couple of the state representatives, and one in the Senate, one in the House of Representatives. But that's few and far between. There's no real, you know, I could probably set up a Republican office here, and we'd have spider webs probably.
Well, it's like
So
my
it,
it's like
it's
my
it's it's a problem. It's a problem on both counts. When I look at upcoming elections, I look at the yard signs and go, okay, I have to vote on the other side. Uh,
yeah, like there are three Republicans on my block and they all live in my house. So I get
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Although I do get, I get the private, hey, I really like those yard signs that you have up.
Yeah, that happens. It does.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
there are people here who I mean, you live in a major metropolitan area. I don't. I live in a town of fewer than 600 people. It's a People are fearful, I think is a little bit of a harsh word, but they know
Careful.
that if they're their thought processes get out, their businesses are going to be impacted.
Understood. Understood. All right. So, what are three issues? Three. The number of licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. Um, that are issues that actually matter to you and people in your circle.
Probably, well, not probably. Economics, we're on fixed income, Social Security. And guess what? Things have not been dropping in prices. Prices
Correct.
keep going up. Um, have not had a raise. Well, Social Security jumps up, what, 3%? I think it jumped up about 5% a couple of years ago. But, we're having to, look at second jobs and that obviously, we both work uh, at a second job, but we haven't had a raise in 3 years. So economic issues, um, not not so much health care. We're both in good health, and we have adequate health care at this point. I mean, in the surrounding area, we don't have to go too far for most of the basic type of stuff. Boy, what else? And I think the economic, uh, I'm harping on this, but economic issues regarding the state and what's going on within the state. There's, there what we saw and have seen over the past, what now, almost 5 months happening in Minnesota with the fraud, waste, and abuse that's been going on over there. And Governor Evers here doesn't even want to address those possibilities here in Wisconsin.
Wow.
He's stonewalling, you know, audits for, you name it, for state government type programs that are going on. So, hey, we need transparency.
We need transparency until we don't. I understand. I understand. All right. Both the young man Brandon that I interviewed earlier today, and you live. I mean, because Brandon doesn't live far from me actually. So you live in completely different types of areas. He lives in a major metropolitan area, and you live in an area that wasn't much bigger than my high school PE class, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I had 60 people in my PE class when I was a sophomore in high school.
Yikes.
I graduated with a class of 856, which was the smallest.
I graduated with a class of 10. And
Ah,
I went to school in suburban Chicago, so go figure.
10. Wow. Now, our class was 856, and we were the smallest in that next 5 year period because I think the largest of that group ended up being somewhere around 1,400. It's a big place, a lot of folks. So it's interesting. So I'm going to ask you this question. This is going to be interesting from his perspective and yours. Do you think that people are becoming more, especially because you can find out in your private conversations, more politically independent, or are they doing what they've been doing in your area for a long time? Or are they just still aligned with their traditional expectations and they're just staying on that road? Or through your personal conversation, you find out that people are getting a little bit more independent than they might have been when you guys moved there 10 or 11 years ago.
Not No, the general trend has been people are continuing to do what they've always done, at least here, what we see. Um, nobody is really independently thinking, and they've whatever comes out of Madison or the DNC, um, that's where they're following. Uh, there has not been what is one of the real hopes that I have, and we're working, two issues. One is to get Tom Tiffany elected governor, and secondly, I guess, is to continue the pursuit for election integrity, that we don't have, an ongoing problem like we had in 2020.
All right. Well, that's really your. You'll find when I put this together, you'll find these answers. His answers and your answers are very, very interesting, and eye opening. For myself, I don't know. I I think that it's a lot the same everywhere. Um, Before I let you go, I wanted to get your view on you hit on the conflict in Iran. I did a video just now on Iran, that's out on Fightback Media on the YouTube channel. I don't think this is going to be a long term thing. I don't think that we'll be dealing with this into the midterm.
No.
Um, but what do you think how is this how is it's going to end? But how is it going to end? Is it going to end just because Trump says I'm done? Because it can very well end just like Trump could go. He's the guy who goes, "I won, I'm done," and just walks away from the table. I'm done. We win.
Yeah, he's going to go, you're fired, and that's
And then,
that's
and
that's
he'll be done with it, and he'll walk around, take his victory lap, and everyone will go, "It ended." Yeah, yeah. Trump said it was over, so we're done with it on the midterms.
yeah. I I don't think I don't no, it's not going to last. I mean, I think we're coming up on the 60-day uh, War Powers Act date, where he has to go, and it's not really a war. There's no troops on the ground. There's nobody on the ground. Yeah, we've got, you know, 11 years on active duty Navy. Yeah, we've got ships and air squadrons and stuff in the area. We've always had ships and air squadrons in the area. So that's not a valid point. Um, I think what they're going to have to do is not only the ultimate point of the whole thing was to continue to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. And secondly, once and this is right up Trump's alley, is, hey, get the gas and oil issue settled, and then everybody's gonna, roll over to oh, what's the next shiny thing we have to worry about or think about? And 6 months or a year from now, we'd be talking like, oh, do you remember way back in April? You know,
I think it's easy. I think it's interesting how all of this may have a propensity to affect China and where they get their fuel from. I mean, where they get their energy from, or even Russia, where they get their energy from, because of what's happened in Venezuela and what's
right?
happened in Iran, and those things are connected. I don't think a lot of definitely the press isn't putting those things together.
No.
But those things, Iran and Venezuela go together.
Yep.
They definitely go together. So it's going to be interesting to see what effects it has on China and how China behaves going into again the next year, 2 years, and what happens in Russia. Will that be leverage because Trump's really into leverage to get some final say of what's going on in Russia and Ukraine?
Yep. Exactly.
And nobody's talking about that. Nobody's even mentioned that. Even the
No,
really smart people aren't mentioning that. I don't understand. Maybe
they're
they're
obviously not really smart.
maybe they're keeping it a secret, so the rest of us don't know. Weird, very weird, very weird. All right, Paul. So tell me what you're up to, man. Are you still writing on the thing? You are, aren't you? Every now and again.
Well, we're writing and we're posting when we can, and to to Fight Back Media, the Morning Report there on Facebook, and
Yes,
you'll see my posts there, and also at the Swanson Report dot well, not the, it's just Swanson Report uh, blog. So yeah, we're still doing that, and
sweet.
you and I have done this for
A long time, dude.
10, 15 years.
Easily, easily. We've seen a lot of people come in, blow up, and then get out, and never heard from them again. So
Well,
yeah,
you may not hear from us, but every so often, but we're still here.
we're still here, like the little engine that could.
Yep.
We're cool. All right, sir. Well, we appreciate your time and your insight. This is going to take a couple of days for me to put together, and when it comes out, I'll let you know when the video comes out. I'll post it in all the locations. It'll be posted on Facebook and on YouTube and on Rumble, because Rumble has been very, very good to us.
Very
Rumble,
good.
um, with clips, because I'm using Riverside. So Riverside makes these great clips that are the right length and the right format for TikTok and Instagram. So it's going to be everywhere. So it'll be cool. It'll be
Good.
everywhere. So it'll be cool. All right, sir.
Look
Well,
forward
thank
to
you
it.
ever so much for your time. I trust that things are well with you. And if you need me, you know where to find me. All right. So we get back. We'll see you in a little bit.
All right,
And
everybody.
click the
Thanks.
button.